Hey, welcome to a new episode of Last Call Baseball, number 146. I'm Dorian. What have you been up to since we last talked? You know, we're only coming back every other week on this podcast because it's the off season of Major League Baseball. But there's always baseball being played. You know, I've been following the Latin American Winter Leagues, the Caribbean Series. And finally, spring break is here. Is spring break already here? Well, I don't know, but spring training is here. Matt Chapman signed, the third baseman, formerly with the Toronto Blue Jays, signed with the San Francisco Giants for 3 years. Jorge Soler, formerly with the Miami Marlins, signed with the San Francisco Giants for 3 years. Does this mean that the Giants are finally ready to stop being single and go out on dates again? Because you know, over the past two off seasons, free agents have been rejecting the San Francisco Giants left and right. And it makes my heart warm because if you're in high school or if you ever attended high school, you know right about now, around March, you better get your prom date in order. If not, you're going to prom alone. And I think that the San Francisco Giants are going to be able to have a date for prom. And here's something peculiar that I've noticed for spring training. There was one game that kicked off baseball spring training. That was on February 22nd. The LA Dodgers played the San Diego Padres out in Arizona. One game to start spring training. Everyone is focused on this game. That's the way it should be. But in the regular season, I hammer on this all the time, how poorly Major League Baseball markets itself. When baseball starts in a few weeks, you've been starved of baseball for, let's say, about 4 months. Then Rob Manfred, the commissioner of Major League Baseball, is going to ram 33. He's going to just ram 54 games on the opening day of baseball, just right down your throat. You know you can't do that. If you've been starving, if you've been dying of thirst, you can't just gulp down 2 gallons of water. You got to take it a little easy, like the NFL does. The defending champion gets their own night. They kick off the season. They host a game. It's a celebration of football. It's a celebration of the defending champions, the Super Bowl champions. Major League Baseball doesn't do that. The Texas Rangers should have their own night before everybody else starts. They should open up at home. All baseball eyes would be on the defending champions. Instead, Rob Manfred gets it wrong, and he allows one spring training game to kick off, which it's exciting, but nobody cares about because no one's going to remember what happened. I watched that game because I was excited that baseball is actually coming back. Major League Baseball is coming back. The Dodgers scored 8 runs in the first inning, and the game was over. The Dodgers ended up winning 14-1. The San Diego Padres starter Joe Musgrove, he didn't record a single out, and he just got pulled. They're like, okay, fine, we're not going to risk you getting injured for this nonsense of a contest. Spring training always starts in February, and in February, it's always Black History Month. I know this episode's coming out a few days after the end of February, but I do want to talk a little bit about Bill Lucas. Bill Lucas played with the Milwaukee Braves in the minor leagues in the 1960s, and he stayed with the team when they moved from Milwaukee to Atlanta in 1966. Bill Lucas was the first black general manager in Major League Baseball history. And unfortunately, he passed away at the very young age of 43 years old. This was back in 1979. Now, Mr. Lucas was the general manager for 2 seasons, and in those 2 seasons, it was incredibly impactful. He gave future Hall of Famer Bobby Cox his first managerial job. Bill Lucas also had a heck of an eye for talent. He drafted Dale Murphy and Bob Warner. You know how I feel about people like Fox and ESPN and Sports Illustrated and all that other stuff. If the Yankees or the Boston Red Sox would have been the team that hired the first black general manager in Major League Baseball, ooh, your ears would be bleeding from the constant reminder from ESPN, from Fox, from NPR, from anybody that how great the New York Yankees are, how great the Boston Red Sox are, and how we need to rename an entire week in baseball calendar after Bill Lucas. Now, the Atlanta Braves have and continue to honor Bill Lucas. They have a room named after him in Truist Park. His name is on the HBCU game every year that the Atlanta Braves host. The historically black college and universities game that the Atlanta Braves host. As Peter from Family Guy would say, it really grinds my gears that if Bill Lucas had been the general manager for the Yankees or the Red Sox or even the Dodgers, Ken Burns and Bob Costas would be producing documentaries and writing books about Bill Lucas and the Yankees and the Red Sox every other year. It'd be crazy. You'd be like, okay, I get it. He was awesome. That's awesome that these teams did it and do it. But Bob Costas, Ken Burns, not a peep about Bill Lucas, the Atlanta Braves, and Black History Month when Mr. Lucas was the first black general manager in Major League Baseball history. So cheers to the Lucas family. Also, Bill Lucas's daughter is alive and well. Wanya Lucas, she is the president and CEO for public broadcasting in Atlanta, which is basically the NPR and PBS in Atlanta. So the Lucas family is alive and well and strongly represented in entertainment and, of course, Atlanta, Georgia. So cheers to the Atlanta Braves for hiring the first black general manager in Major League Baseball history, Bill Lucas. As a matter of fact, who cares what Ken Burns, I've been drinking a little too much of this beer. Who cares what Ken Burns and Bob Costa says? I'm going to be the Pied Piper for Bill Lucas and the Atlanta Braves. College baseball has started. Spring training is underway. We are very excited for baseball because without baseball being played, we would have no baseball podcasts. This week, we're joined by our special guest, Eric Proffitt, co-host of the Earn Fun Average podcast. Eric, welcome to Last Call Baseball.
Well, I appreciate you having me. Thank you so much.
Eric, have Perry Farrell's lawyers been in contact with you?
Not that I'm aware of.
And I'm saying that because on the Earn Fun Average, which I highly recommend everyone listen to, you have the Profit Palooza, which is your family road trip. So that's why, because, Perry Farrell, well, but in case anyone doesn't know, Perry Farrell is or was and still is the lead singer of Jane's Addiction, and he invented Lollapalooza.
Yeah, so that kind of goes back to my friend Paul. He did a baseball trip called Baseball Palooza, and he always gives me a hard time about taking the Palooza name. And I was like, well, what about Lollapalooza? He's like, yeah, I don't know. So we kind of joke about the Paloozas a lot.
Why do you love minor league baseball so much?
Well, so here I'm from Wichita, Kansas. In Wichita, growing up, for the longest time, we had the AA affiliate of the Kansas City Royals, who are my favorite MLB team. So we are about 3 hours south of Kansas City. So it's the closest Major League Baseball team we have. But we had the Wichita Wranglers, and the Wichita Wranglers for many years, they were affiliated of a few other teams because obviously affiliations change. But for the most part, my early years, I remember they were mostly with the Royals as the affiliate AA. And Lawrence Dumont Stadium, where they played at, was open in 1934, and then they didn't shut it down until 2018. And I just remember growing up at the ballpark and always going out there. And obviously, you would see some future stars, but I think it wasn't until a little more recently when I kind of got more involved in social media, like on Twitter, Instagram, some of those, that I kind of started following more people that were into minor league. And that's kind of what even grew my love even more. But just growing up, getting to go to the games kind of started it for me.
I love minor league baseball. And actually, I got an email last year I went to a Brooklyn Cyclones game and I got some random email about some flex pass. And I'm like, oh, that'd be freaking great to go to a bunch of Brooklyn Cyclones games because it's right in Coney Island. One thing I love to do, obviously, go to baseball games, whether it's college baseball, minor league baseball, MLB. But I always make it a point when I'm at minor league stadiums to buy a hat. And as a nod to your podcast, I know people can't see, but you're wearing a hat and I'm wearing a hat. What hat? I'm totally plagiarizing your thing here, but only because of you. What is it? Plagiarizing is a form of flattery, not plagiarizing, copying.
There we go.
Let us know what hat you're wearing.
So I'm wearing a Wichita Wind Surge hat. So that's actually our affiliated minor league team we have here in Wichita now. So the Wichita Wranglers actually left in 2007, and they left and went to Northwest Arkansas, who are now the Northwest Arkansas Naturals. And then we didn't have affiliated baseball since 2007. We did have independent minor league baseball from 2008 to 2018 with the Wichita Wingnuts, who played in the American Association. But then in 2019 into 2020, we were supposed to have the first season for the Wichita Wind Surge, but of course 2020 no games played. So we didn't get our first season in until 2021, but we are the AA affiliate of the Minnesota Twins. And so that's kind of hard for me to swallow because obviously the Twins are in the AL Central with my Kansas City Royals. But obviously I like going to see the local guys, seeing how they do. But we're season ticket holders, my family is, and we have been since the start in 2021. So yeah, our new team that took over in 2021, the Wichita Wind Surge. So it's a gray hat, has the Pegasus on it, the obviously the mythical horse with a big red W, and then has like a navy bill. And this is actually not an on-field hat, so it's kind of a obviously not a rare hat since they sold them in the team store, but not one that the team wears. But I like it with kind of the gray on it and the kind of the colorful logo on it. So yeah, Wichita Wind Surge is what I have.
Eric, I don't like the fact that you just called the Pegasus the mythical creature because clearly you didn't watch or have female family members who would watch My Little Pony. Everyone would know that the Pegasus is a real thing. It would come on Saturday morning, and the Pegasus is like pink with, I don't know, purple wings.
Yeah, the youngest of three boys. So I have two older brothers, and then I have three boys myself. So yeah, besides my mom and my wife, I haven't been around too many females in my life, I
Yeah.
guess.
I don't think that they were watching My Little Pony. Not that I was watching a lot of it, but it was kind of like, it was around. So that's why I remember. I highly encourage everyone to go listen to Earth Fun Average. It really is. You guys have great chemistry. I love listening to your shows. I've noticed because you basically say it almost every episode, like you do a lot of road trips. And that's what real, like not, I don't say real, but people that enjoy baseball, part of it is getting to the stadium, watching the baseball. I think of what is it? Route 66 has a bunch of songs dedicated to it, not dedicated to, but written about it. Route 66, overhyped, or have you even been on Route 66?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of where specifically it runs through. My wife and I went out to LA back in 2015, and I think when we went out there, we did part of it, but I wouldn't say it's overhyped.
All right, then in that case, what's your favorite stretch of road when you're going literally all over the country to watch baseball?
Probably down I-35, just heading straight south from Wichita. I-35 heads down to Oklahoma. My wife's from Stillwater, Oklahoma, so we get down there quite a bit. And then besides the Kansas City Royals, the Texas Rangers are the second closest MLB team. So we head down that stretch quite a bit. So for me, I'd just say probably I-35 heading south.
Just because that there's baseball at the end of the Golden Trail? Because I was thinking you were going to say you like it the best because you know all the highway patrolmen there, and you know where the speed traps are. You know where the good clean bathrooms are for the kids. You know where the
Well,
good what is it? I drive a lot through the Carolinas, and I always make it a point to get like some local fast food place, and that's why I like going through there. So that's why I thought you were going to say about I-35,
I-35, yeah.
I-35.
Yeah, so it runs north to south through Oklahoma, and I mean there are some places that we know where to stop, but we always usually stop around Stillwater. And my wife lives just or was born at Stillwater and lived just outside of Stillwater, so we get down there quite a bit, and then just keep driving south, and that'll take you right into Texas and the Dallas Fort Worth area.
Stillwater, is that Oklahoma State
Yeah,
okay.
Oklahoma State, yeah. So the Cowboys, she's a poked. Well, she didn't actually go to school there, but she's still a big fan. Her brother went to school there. But yeah, if you keep going further south, that's when you run into Norman, where the University of Oklahoma Sooners are. But yeah, she's Oklahoma State Cowboy.
We won't mention them by name, but yeah, the other school in Oklahoma. I actually, speaking of Oklahoma State, I actually just watched a video that the Oklahoma State baseball athletic, not the baseball program, whatever, put out about their facilities. It's bonkers. It's like you have 18, 19-year-old kids probably coming from some random high school stuff where 10 of their parents go and watch them. And it's just outrageous. And this year I'm really going to try to make it a point to hit some college baseball games. But yeah, that Oklahoma State facility video just blew me away.
Yeah, their football stadium is like none other. It's really expensive stadium and been there a couple times. I took my one of my boys to see the University of Kansas. So I went to KU, so I'm a KU guy. But we went down to watch KU play Oklahoma State in football, and their football stadium's crazy. And then they just built a pretty new baseball stadium, probably about 3 or 4 years ago as well, O'Brate Stadium, and we've been there a few times to watch, and it's a really nice baseball stadium. But yeah, I also enjoy college baseball. Here in Wichita, we have Wichita State University, and X Stadium is one of the nicer baseball ballparks that I've been to. And at the time of this recording, they actually have their first home series this weekend. So I plan on getting out there. It's supposed to be nice this weekend. Hope to get to a couple of college baseball games, and then I'll do a little bit of traveling to watch some more college baseball before the minor league season starts.
I've never even been in Oklahoma, and I'm agnostic about Oklahoma State athletics, but Oklahoma State athletics is like Americana because it was built on oil and capitalism, specifically Mr. T. Boone Pickens.
Yep. Yep.
All these like entrepreneurs, or back in the day, back in the 60s and 70s, they would all be called industrialists. Like it was incredible the amount of people that he knew because he passed away just before the Great Plague of 2020. I'm actually reading a book about the autobiography of Ted Turner, famously the owner of TBS and CNN, he founded CNN and the owner of Atlanta Braves, and they were trying to do business as well. And I was like, man, Mr. Pickens is that he transformed Oklahoma State athletics. It's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
their football stadium's named after him, obviously, Boone Pickens Stadium. But yeah, it's really nice and it's funny. So when we go down there, my wife enjoys the stadium, and then we go up to Lawrence to Kansas, University of Kansas, about 2 hours north of where I'm at, and go to a football game there. And Memorial Stadium in Lawrence is this old raggedy stadium, and my wife's like, "What is this?" Because she's used to that Boone Pickens Stadium with all that money, but KU luckily is getting a rebrand and they're getting a brand new stadium. So here, probably not this year, but maybe next year they'll have a brand new stadium. But yeah, she's used to that Boone Pickens money that goes anytime she goes to the stadium. She's like, "What is that? That doesn't compare to Oklahoma State."
But maybe University of Kansas needs to get some of that Warren Buffett money. Wait, does he live in Kansas or Nebraska?
No, he's Nebraska. I think he's Omaha, so a little bit
He
north.
has enough money
Close
to get
enough.
he has enough money to give money to two different colleges.
Yeah, right.
What's your favorite part of a road trip?
Well, as far as actually driving, I let my wife drive a lot and then I just sleep, and she hates that because anytime that I drive, she can't sleep very well in a car. So as far as the actual trip part, I just enjoy getting a lot of extra sleep. And then, right then, whenever we get where we need to, then I wake up, oh, we're here. But just getting to see a lot of the country that I haven't seen before. So like last year, I went on a couple trips. We went up to the Northeast, and then a separate trip up to the Pacific Northwest, two places I haven't ever been before. And just getting to see different parts of the country that I had never been before is always fun. And then seeing, sometimes historical sites that we go to or whatever. We went on our baseball trip, my wife and I, like one of the first trips we did was in 2015, and we went driving out to LA, and we went to the Grand Canyon at one point and everything. And so just kind of seeing different historical sites and everything as well is always fun for me.
You're lucky because I travel a lot and I'm an easy traveler. So I don't get that anxious or nervous or anything, but I can't sleep. I can't sleep on trains. I can't sleep on airplanes. I can't sleep in bus. I can't sleep in a car. And I know someone who apparently when he was a young baby boy, his dad to help him go to sleep, what he would do is he would put him in the car and drive around. That's how he would fall asleep. And now as a grown man, he can't be a passenger because he will immediately fall asleep. I'm
Yeah.
like, I wish, especially when you go on those horrific like cross country flights or abroad. Oh, I am dead by the time I get there because I can't sleep.
A lot of times when we do our trips, we'll usually fly into somewhere and then we'll rent a car and then drive wherever. And my brother and I did a trip over Memorial Weekend last year. We went down to Jacksonville and Daytona Beach, and a early flight to get out there and then coming back. And I fell asleep in the airport, just sitting at the seat, waiting at the gate. And my brother's like, "This guy will sleep anywhere." Is my brother, same thing. Doesn't sleep as much. He sometimes does, but yeah, my wife either doesn't sleep a whole lot in the car or on the airplane or whatever, and I just fall asleep wherever. So it's good for me because I pass time a lot easier that way.
Yeah, you just wake up and you're there. It's like a dream. You said you went to the Northeast, which I'm guessing that you're saying you was New England. I actually wanted to go last year to go to the is it not the Hartford who's the team in Providence? It's escaping my name, but there's a team in I think it's in Providence in Rhode Island. Anyways, the point is I didn't go.
Yeah.
But tell me about what you enjoyed when you went. Who did you go see when you went to New England and the food? Because really, the reason I want to go to New England is to see minor league baseball and to eat lobster sandwiches until I get sick of it.
Yeah, so it was a pretty big trip that we went on. We saw five Major League Baseball ballparks and five minor league baseball ballparks. We flew out to DC, rented a car, and first stop was in Baltimore to see the Baltimore Orioles. And then from there, we went over to Pittsburgh. Now, Pittsburgh's kind of out of the way, wrong direction where we were heading for the rest of the trip. But obviously, we wanted to see PNC Park because everybody was saying it's one of the best MLB ballparks out there. So we made our way out to Pittsburgh, came back the other way, went to Philadelphia to see the Phillies, and that game was an afternoon game. And then randomly checked the schedule, wasn't part of our original plans, but saw that the Reading Fighting Phils, which is the Double A of the Phillies, were playing. Just I think they're about hour or so north, or maybe not even that far. So we drove up, saw the Fighting Phils game. Then headed over to the Jersey Shore to see the Jersey Shore Blue Claws, which is a lot of fun, and then made our way to Hartford to see the Yard Goats. And then we got to see the New York Yankees at Yankee Stadium, and then made our way to Boston to Fenway to see the Red Sox, and then finish up in Portland, Maine. And I don't know if that's who you're referencing, the Portland Sea Dogs. So that was a
Yeah,
lot
that's
of
it.
fun.
It sounds your Pennsylvania leg of it just sounds as if you're just I'm the way I'm envisioning is you're just escaping those very violent, knuckle dragging Philadelphia Phillies fans because they're known to be very hospitable.
Yeah.
Did you get any nasty looks wearing your Kansas City Royals, or you just wore like an all black cap and you're like
Yeah,
incognito?
I usually wear minor league baseball hats. I always give my son a hard time. Like if we're at a major league stadium, if your team is not playing, then I usually just wear like an alternate, like a minor league hat, like maybe like the Wind Surge or something. So I typically don't wear the Kansas City Royals unless I'm at a stadium where they're actually playing at. Now the minor leagues doesn't matter as much. I'll just wear whatever hat. But when it comes to major league, I'll usually put on a hat of just some random minor league team.
That's a good strategy because when I was younger, I would get annoyed when I'd go to a baseball game and then they would wear, as you say, somebody would inevitably wear some third team. Obviously, that wasn't playing. But now I'm getting older. I'm like, who cares? Like your team is your team. If you're gonna go see the Mariners and the Angels and you're a Texas Rangers fan, who cares?
Yeah, that's true. Very true. But yeah, as far as the food, I know you kind of mentioned the food a little bit. When we are in Maine to see the Portland Sea Dogs, they have an alternate identity called the Maine Bean Suppas, and it has obviously beans, has brown bread, and then red snapper, kind of like hot dogs. And so that's kind of obviously something specific to them. And they play as that alternate identity. And the game we were there, they actually were playing as the Maine Bean Suppas, so they weren't playing as the Portland Sea Dogs that game. So of course they were selling the main bean suppers. I'm like, I have to get this. So we ended up getting that. And then when we were in like Jersey Shore, we had pork roll. I don't know. Sometimes they call it Taylor ham or pork roll or whatever, but we got that there. And then they have it's kind of I think it's called water ice or water ice. That's kind of it's hard to explain. It's almost like a slushy, an icy kind of ice cream type thing. That was really good that we had there. So yeah, there's pretty good food
That's
up in
in New
that area.
Jersey.
Yeah. So kind of that whole area, there's pretty good food that we were able to eat while on that trip.
As long as there are no fists flown while they're serving you the food, because again, not to pick on people, but Philadelphia, New Jersey people are a little,
I
rough
think
around the edges.
yeah, I was gonna say I think I might know why why you say that.
So you, as you had mentioned, you're a Royals fan. What are now, Bobby? You have Bobby Witt Jr. locked down for the next 37 years.
Finally, they spent some money.
And I'm disappointed the man's he's no longer a new owner, but he was like some billionaire, I guess local, or he grew up a Royals fan, and then there was this great surge of excitement. And as you said, they really haven't done anything except maybe sign Salvador Perez to like a big number but small amount of years signage. But now that Bobby Witt Jr. is signed to for the next 57 years, as I said, are you going to ask him to put you on the season ticket list as part of his family because you've been there since before he was born? I'm sure.
Yeah, he should if he doesn't, he definitely should. But yeah, finally this year. So John Sherman is the new owner of the Kansas City Royals. Took over the last couple of years, and before that, didn't have much of in the way of ownership as far as spending a lot of money. And so I think this was the biggest contract. I think what was it, 13 years for Bobby Witt or something. Which to me, I think that's a little bit long because by then, he's only I don't know what 23, 24, but he'll be hitting 36, 37 by then, and at that point, they're kind of, I mean, you could still play at that age and some can play decently well,
Yeah,
but
it's a
obviously
levy year contract.
yeah, your skills will dwindle a little bit by the time you get that old. So, I would be okay with the kind of a 7 or 8 year maybe, but I don't know, that seems like a little lengthy contract. So we'll see kind of how it plays out towards the end. But then besides that, they spent quite a bit this offseason, over 100 million on some free agent guys, pick up like Michael Waka and Seth Lugo and stuff. And now some of those are kind of older guys. And I feel like maybe if this was something 2016, 2017, because Michael Waka, I think, was pretty good back in the day, but now he's getting older. So we'll see how it goes this year. Everybody thinks they'll improve. Obviously, last year was really bad. They thought they'd be better last year. But now that they have kind of the young talent that they've had over the last couple of years that they brought up from the minors, and then with these free agents or trades or whatever they made in the offseason that they spent money on, hopefully, we'll see. Well, it's getting started here shortly, so be curious to see how the season ends up.
Yeah, the last year I think the first 2 weeks of the 2023 season, I watched a bunch of Kansas City Royals games and Detroit Tigers games. Just no correlation there, but and I saw them. And I'm like, wow, they have young, exciting players. They're going to be better. Bobby Witt Jr., as you know better than I do, he struggled at the beginning, and then he really picked it up. I think somewhere around like the All Star break or deep into the summer, and the Detroit Tigers just completely fell off. But yeah, it was disappointing because you're like, as a baseball fan, literally anybody could win the American League Central Division, and it's almost like a hot potato where nobody wants it. The Chicago
Right.
White Sox are like, we're going to punt. And the Minnesota Twins are like, well, I guess since genuinely no one else is trying, we'll go to the playoffs.
Yeah, we were talking about that a lot with some of our friends last year that the AL Central was just so bad last year. And I mean, the Twins were okay, and they actually won finally. They hadn't won in the playoffs for the longest time and actually won a series. But yeah, just the entire division was just really bad last year. So I don't know how much better it'll be this year. Obviously, I don't know that the Tigers or White Sox will do a whole lot, but we'll see what the Royals and the Twins can do, and obviously the Guardians are usually right there for a chance. Now they kind of obviously faltered as well, but yeah, the the whole division last year was pretty bad. So be interesting to see how they can follow that up this year.
Besides going into Bobby Witt Jr.'s suite for 82 games this summer, is there anything else that excites you about the Royals for the 2024 season? Because we're in spring training, and that the spring training excites me. And by the way, and my second follow up question is: have you been to the Arizona spring training games ever? Because I've been to Florida once, but I haven't made it out to Arizona.
So as far as the spring training, no, unfortunately, I haven't been there yet. That would be something that'd be fun. It'd be a little bit easier. Although being in Kansas, we're kind of right in the middle of everything. So I mean, either way, whether we go to Florida to see games, but obviously Kansas City is over in Arizona. I haven't been there yet, but that might be something to be fun to go check out sometime some spring training games. But yeah, I don't know. I don't want to get too terribly excited right now for the season just because last year they anticipated them having a pretty good season, and then the best hitter, Vinny Pasquantino, got hurt midway through, and that took away one of the bats. And then Zach Greinke obviously was with the team, and he was with the Royals early on in his career, and he's just getting way older. And I don't even know that he's signed now at this point with anybody because I don't think he's re-signed with Kansas City, so I don't know if he's I don't think he's officially retired or if he's going to sign anywhere or not. I'll just, it's hard to get excited for me at this point just because it's been since I mean, obviously 2015 wasn't, but 9 years ago. So it's not like I've been waiting, 30 years for my team to make the World Series and win one, but it's been since 2015 since they made the playoffs. So I want to see them do a little bit better here in the regular season before I get a little too excited with it.
You're right. Zach Greinke is still a free agent, even though he says he doesn't want to retire yet. But who knows? And I watched a lot of. Actually, I did. I remember I watched all of the World Series games when the Kansas City Royals were in the 2014 and 2015 World Series. My everlasting and best memory of that, I think the best part of those two World Series was being able to see Marlins man right behind the catcher with his very obnoxious orange jacket. And I remember there was whoever the Royals owner was, if you remember, apparently he air quote invited Marlins man up to get him out of the TV shot, and Marlins man was like, "No, I like my seat right here in
I
the
wonder if that would have been probably David Glass if I had to guess, but
maybe." But it was during
uh,
those two World Series runs.
yeah, I definitely remember Marlins man. And so with the Wichita Wind Surge, they were originally slated to be the AAA of the Miami Marlins, 2019 and 2020. And then because the 2020 season didn't happen, Major League Baseball realigned the minor leagues, and so they moved from AAA of the Miami Marlins to AA of the Minnesota Twins, which they've been now since 2021. But Marlins man came to Wichita for the inaugural opening game here in Wichita. Maybe because he originally thought, I don't know if he thought because we were going to be the Marlins at one time, but he was here and my son actually got to meet him and got his picture with him. So we've met him. But yeah, I definitely remember him. And it's kind of at the time, I was kind of annoyed, like, why is this guy here? Why is he wearing his Marlin stuff? But now I mean, he's just pretty much everywhere. So
Yeah,
it's just
but
kind of,
when he shows up, it is a big time sporting event
oh yeah,
because he
for
goes to
sure.
Kentucky Derby, he goes to the NBA final. I mean, he goes to events.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
I hope he didn't bill your son for the time to take a picture because he's a lawyer.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I
So
did
again,
know
the
that.
lawyer thread here between Perry Farrell. Maybe he's Perry Farrell's lawyer. Who knows? Anyways, let's not give
Could
him
be.
ideas. I, and by the way, my last point about Marlins, man, I saw him. I didn't. No, I'm sorry. He wasn't at a game. I went to a bunch of games, but he went to one of the Caribbean Series games. I forget which one it was, but he was at the Caribbean Series game, but not the games that I went to. Hopefully, next time I'll take a picture with him. Just
Yeah, one of my friends ended up going to the championship game, and I talked briefly about getting to go, but the championship was on a Friday, and
wait,
so
you
because
went?
no, one of my friends said I was talking about
Oh,
seeing if I could go, but because if it was on a Saturday, then I might have been able to make it
yeah,
work,
you're
but
right. It was
because
Friday
the
at 8,
championship
I
was,
think.
yeah, so I couldn't get off of work unfortunately, so I didn't get to go. But it looked like a lot of fun. The crowd and the atmosphere, because just watching the World Baseball Classic, I know it's a little bit different, but just those crowds, the atmosphere, and everything seemed like it was a lot of fun. So I wish I could have made it, but yeah, unfortunately I didn't get to go. But did have a friend that made it to the championships game.
Yeah, you're right. The atmosphere for the Caribbean series was almost as good as the World Baseball Classic, and it calmed down both watching some of those games on TV and attending those games, and then going to like opening day or minor league game. I mean, no offense, but it's kind of like like it's just completely different. But with the
Right.
intensity of an international competition, the urgency, and then like baseball, it's great. I love it. Anyways, before we take you away from your co-host Johnny to go away from Earn Fun Average, and we're going to crown you the new czar of minor league baseball. What's a couple of things, whatever you want, that you would change for the betterment of the game?
Well, the first thing is easy for me, and this is for the fans. Stop doing the wave. I can't stand the wave. So that's possibly controversial for some people because a lot of people
Okay,
enjoy doing
Vladimir
it.
Putin.
That's my number one thing. They kind of banned the shift, but not really because they've found ways to do that. I didn't like the shift much either, but they've kind of changed a little bit where you can't go past like you have to have two guys on the either side of second base, but then they figured out how to kind of change that up a little bit. But I would, for the most part, minor league baseball is not too bad, but I would try to lower prices as much as possible because even though it's a lot cheaper than like a major league game, still going, with a family of four like myself. And then if we are too busy, usually if we're going to, just for my instance, going to the home games here for the Wichita Wind Surge, we usually just try to eat at home before we go because it can still be expensive, especially if you have a bigger family. So a lot of them do better with the prices being dropped, but I would bring down prices a little bit more, and then always got to do the giveaways. I'm a big bobblehead guy, so more bobbleheads, more giveaways, more jersey giveaways, hat giveaways like that.
Czar Profit, I'm going to respectfully, as a self-appointed senior advisor to Czar Profit, I'm going to say let's push back on the giveaways because I love the oceans, and most of that stuff is sent out to a grand pile of junk in the Pacific Ocean. That's
Yeah.
why I'm not a big fan of like bobbleheads and this hat and that whatever. But make you know what? Instead of giving you problems, I'm going to give you solutions, Czar.
Okay.
Instead of doing giveaways, now everything, especially kids, you have, as you had mentioned, you have young kids. Everything's virtual now, and so
Yep.
they play all these games. And I know that part of your hard-earned money goes to funding some of these games when they buy skins and all this other nonsense on for us nonsense on these video games. What if we give them virtually these stuff so they can wear air quote wear their characters can wear them in video games?
There we go. Yeah, I like
There you
that.
go.
That's
Save the
good.
earth. Yeah, save the earth while we're burning coal and using up oil to to fire up our PlayStations. What I mean, what is this? Like, I feel like this is being promoted by like NPR. It's not. I don't know where I'm going with this. You're the czar. You can cut my head off. So I'm gonna say yes. Let's give away everything. Let's give away minor league underwear, socks, everything you want, sir.
Hey, I like that. Minor league underwear. That's good. I'd rock those.
We talked a little bit about food in New Jersey, Pennsylvania. I love taking road trips, going to see baseball. But when we end up in Wichita to go see Wichita Wind Surge game, what's some places that you enjoy going to for drink, food, coffee?
We have a lot of breweries here, and one of my favorites is Norton's Brewery. They have a nice atmosphere where they have a little outside kind of like berm area that you can sit on the grass, little grass hill, and then they have bands like on Friday night during the spring and summer. And they have a lot of good local, obviously their own brewed beer and everything. And then I'm actually, as I finish up here, I'm actually going to go to another brewery tonight, Central Standard Brewery, and then there's also Hoppy Gnome. So there's quite a few breweries here. I've just named a couple of them, but those are three of my favorites. And then I like going to Old Chicago. They have a lot of different beers on tap from a bunch of different breweries and stuff. So Old Chicago has really good pizza. They have nice calzones. Enjoy going there. And then Carlos O'Kelly's is a good, nice Mexican restaurant. So that's another place that I like going here in Wichita.
Star Prophet, you are a man after my own heart by listing all these breweries because that's what I love doing. I love going to breweries and I drink them during these podcasts. I always, put them on the pictures and what have you. One more potential suggestions are because when you're mentioning breweries, breweries are almost always dog friendly.
Yeah.
You always have what is it, Yelp or Bark at the Park at minor league baseball games
Yep.
and major league baseball games. Why not do like Paws at the Park where you allow cats to come to the baseball game and cats to come to breweries?
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of cats, by the way.
The only one that I'm familiar with that does that is the Omaha Storm Chasers. They have take me out to the ballpark. I think one of my friends went to a game last year and it was cats. So I did not make it
I
to
am
that
gonna
game.
go. I'm gonna look that up.
Yeah, take me out to the ball game. It's the only one that I'm familiar with was the Omaha Storm Chasers. There could be others that do it, but yeah, why not? Why does it only have to be dogs? Why can't it be cats as well? I mean, obviously they usually want the dogs like on leashes or whatever, and usually you don't see cats on leashes. I guess you can, but if you have like a little carrier case for them or whatever, but yeah, it's a good idea.
Like, I don't know. Cats weren't bred to be on leashes. I mean, the Egyptians worship them, so there's like I don't know. I love that. Take me out to the ball. I love it. Eric, I want to thank you for your time. I don't want to take up any more time because you have important drinking to do. Tell us where we can find your podcast or anything else you want to promote so we can follow you.
The Earn Fun Average podcast with my co-host Johnny and I can be found on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart, pretty much anywhere you can get your podcasts. It releases every Wednesday, so we, at the time of the recording, just released an episode today. And go out there, follow us online on Instagram, Twitter, X, whatever you call it, Earn Fun Average, and Average is AVG. That's where you can find our podcast and check us out.
Thanks to Eric Proffitt for joining us this week. I'm a big fan of his podcast, Earn Fun Average, and they just celebrated their 100th episode a few weeks ago. So congratulations to Eric and Johnny. You guys are awesome. What's also awesome is this beer that I've been drinking, Shikanji Gose. It's a tart lime ale from a good American local brewery. To honor Eric when he went with his family to Philadelphia, Dock Street Brewery in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Even though this is an American brewery, Shikanji sounds like a Japanese-inspired beer, but it's actually from this American brewery was inspired by Northern India and this region in Northern India and Pakistan called Shikanji. I believe that's how you pronounce it. I have no idea. Pretty cool because it has has Nepalese Timut peppercorns, some ginger, a little salty, a little sour. It's tart, but it's not overwhelming. And most importantly, this Philadelphia beer does not inspire you to go fight and throw some knuckles around, especially if someone else is cheering for a different baseball team than your own favorite ones. And whatever you're drinking might inspire you to follow Last Call Baseball on social media. Look, I promise not to post anything for months at a time. Thanks for listening to Last Call Baseball. I'll see you in a few weeks. Be great and get home safe.